We're in the midst of conference competition. Tonight, a Suburban East battle at the Stable in Oak Park Heights. The number 3 ranked team in Class 4A, the Stillwater Ponies at 9-2, host the Mounds View Mustangs at 6-8. But don't let the record fool you, the Mustangs will not be a pushover. Greetings, everyone. I'm Mike Peden, joined by LaToya, Turk, LaToya, Stillwater. The only 2 teams they've lost to are the 2 teams ahead of them in the polls, Hopkins and Liza. Everyone else they've scored convincing wins against. What makes them so potent this year?
Oh, this Stillwater team has an excellent group of young ladies who are playing really well together. You have Alexis, Pratt, and Sara Scalia, and then they've added Liza, Karlen to the mix, and it's really hard to stop all 3 of them once they get going.
Precisely. Sara Scalia's scoring has dropped a little bit compared to a year ago, but Alexis Pratt has really picked things up over the last 5 games, 20 points or more in all of them. And when those 2 get going, you add Liza Karlen to the mix, as you noted. There's not as much pressure on them as there was a year ago, and that allows them to fly like an eagle.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that Sara's scoring has dropped a little. She doesn't have to score as much as she scored the past 2 years, so it takes a little pressure off of her.
That being said, she's still a lethal 3-point threat, shooting close to 50%. She's hit 6 triples twice, and we've seen her range. It's anywhere on the floor.
Those are amazing numbers. They're going to love her at the U.
That being said, Mounds View, no pushover. 8 games decided by 5 points or less. That is a crazy stat to think about.
Absolutely. This, like you said, this Mounds View team is no pushover. What's going to be the real matchup is their backcourt, how their backcourt is able to handle Alexis Pratt. But when we talk about the player in the middle, she's going to come to play. She's been putting up big numbers every game, and so it'll be interesting to see Miss Liza match up with her.
That player is Lindsey Becher, 10 double-doubles. Leads the state in blocks, more than twice as many as the next closest player. 4th in steals, 5th in rebounds. Willie Taylor, Stillwater's head coach, says this kid is a bona fide D1 athlete.
Absolutely, and she's going to show that to us tonight. I can guarantee you she's going to show up to play, and she's going to protect the middle.
We have a lot of fun in this horse race, no pun intended. You're watching high school girls basketball. If you'd like to sponsor a TSP television broadcast, Patreon is the place. Sponsorships start at just $1 a month. Visit patreon.com/TSP television and make a pledge for premier Twin Cities sports coverage. Welcome back to the Stable in Oak Park Heights. Suburban East Conference tilt, a conference that Stillwater has sole possession of first place, thanks to wins over Forest Lake and Roseville earlier this season. The starters are being introduced. We'll do the same for the visiting Mounds View Mustangs. It's number 2, Leah Band, the sophomore. Katie Manicky, number 4, the junior. Lindsey Becher, number 22, a junior. Chloe Whalen, number 32, a senior. And Lizzie Calls, number 34, another senior. Stillwater starting their usual 5. Alexis Pratt, the sophomore. Sara Scalia, the senior. Delaney Wagner, number 30. The junior, Grace Cody, the junior. And Liza Karlen, number 32, the junior.
Number 22, Lindsey Becher.
And LaToya, I see you're catching up with some old friends over here.
Well, Alexis was trying to get her mom's attention to throw the game souvenir to her. And her mom, she couldn't get her mom's attention, so I was going to be a fill-in for her.
Stillwater swept the season series with Mounds View last year. And speaking with Willie Taylor beforehand, with Stillwater ranked 3rd in Class 4A, he said a big test for the Ponies is how well they can put away some of these lower-level teams. As he mentioned, if you keep it close, as was the case with Tartan, they might run the risk of being upset.
Right. You definitely don't want to play down to the team that you're playing when you know that you're playing a team that you're favored on. You want to continue with your regular set and go ahead and take care of some of the teams that you know you should be beating.
And after big wins over Forest Lake and Roseville, Stillwater quickly became favorites.
They're looking pretty good right now.
And they were close to beating Wayzata, lost that one in overtime. Some Stillwater folks felt Ponies should have won that one, but if nothing else, it says we can hang with the top teams. Of course, they'll have to beat Wayzata or Hopkins likely to have a chance at winning state, but that's still a long way away.
Absolutely.
One more thing, LaToya, the father of the Scalia clan is right in front of us, so we'll have to be on our best behavior.
Absolutely.
Sara Scalia, the all-time leading scorer in Stillwater history, passed 2,000 points last month against Woodbury. And Lindsey Becher at Mounds View, she crossed 1,000 points at the Hail Murray Holiday Tournament.
Yes, I was at that tournament.
I recall you mentioning how much Lindsey Becher gave you fits, but your buddy over there, Andrea Dubose, said your friendship wasn't on the line or wasn't
Absolutely.
at risk. Said had Mounds View won that game, might have been a different story.
I absolutely love girls basketball, so. And we see right away Becher's coming out and guarding Scalia. And maybe that's because of that long reach that she has and leading in block shots. She can get her hand on some of those
the
Scalia
wild
shots.
card. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, the wild card for Mounds View is going to be Lizzie Calls. Lizzie averages 9.8, but her stats are all over the place. She's had 2 20-point games, 23 against Como Park, 25 against Cretin-Durham Hall, and 4 games this season with 4 points or less.
Well, she's definitely going to need one tonight, get past the Stillwater Ponies.
Right. Becher will get her opportunities because of how talented she is, but if Lizzie Calls can give her some help, Mounds View has a chance.
And there's another thing that I'm seeing. I'm seeing that Liza's playing behind Becher, which she's actually better if you front her because she acts for the lob so well and she's able to get to the basket. But we'll see how that works for them. Playing defense behind her, make her actually make a move, an offensive move.
Ponies have won 4 in a row. They took the holidays off, came back fresh, and destroyed Eastridge 75-26. 3-ball. Corner pocket. Grace Cody gets us started.
And here's that press that gave Wayzata a little bit of trouble here. That's a little questionable. Called an over and back. But I'm not a ref, so I'm going to stay in my lane.
You're going to sip your tea, aren't you?
Yes. And so that last possession, we did see Becher tip it a little bit on the pass from Scalia. And
Sara Scalia.
yeah, that's one thing you don't want to do is get lost on a screen with Scalia and Karlen.
I was going to say Sara Scalia has made at least 1 3-pointer in every game this season. That streak will continue. She's up to 43. Pratt will get called for the foul. Or will it go against Mounds View? No, it is going against Leah Band of Mounds View. So Pratt wins that scrum.
And we can guarantee that Scalia will probably hit 1 3-pointer at least every game, and Pratt will get at least 1 steal every game.
I would put money on that bet.
Yeah, and there's that lob pass.
High-low, and Liza Karlen with the finish. Liza Karlen, as I understand it, super competitive. In fact, the other parent suggested I should keep bringing up her free throw percentage so that she'll go up to 90 by the end of the season.
She's doing a great job of adjusting and playing in the paint. Last year I watched her at Central and the year before, and she really was a forward.
Chloe Whalen times the pass.
Way to run the
calls,
floor.
I should say. Liza Karlen says, right back at you. Stillwater not fooling around. In fact, go ahead.
That's what we like to see. Run the floor. Make a mistake, you adjust right away.
Stillwater running away with the 1 seed in Section 4-4A. And Forest Lake and Roseville, they may be the only 2 teams who could challenge them for the Suburban East Conference title. But we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. And if ever,
It's just amazing how much it's changed in a year, though. 3 does not drop for Whalen. Scalia with the board. Because last year, Stillwater, they were a solid team as Pratt fires the 3. That's no good. Rebound Whalen. But there were moments where if the 3s weren't dropping or if Scalia and Pratt were struggling to produce from the floor, Stillwater was in trouble. You throw in Liza Karlen, and they're nearly unstoppable.
absolutely.
Well, so is Lindsey Becher.
Becher scoring.
Leading the state in blocks by more than a 2-to-1 advantage. That is insane.
Wow.
And with her being a junior, she might have a chance at some of Chase Coley's block records.
That would be impressive.
I spoke with Ashley Ansel before the game, and she told me this Mounds View team over the last couple of years, they've been trying to work with their athleticism to make things a little more fluid. Uh-oh.
If that gets started.
We've got a foul on the Ponies. 8-2 our score, 14:01 left in the first half.
So when you say they're working on their athleticism, they might not have the quickest team, but they definitely play fundamental basketball, and they play smart. And as you can see, they went to the zone against the Stillwater team, which definitely slowed them down on offense here.
And trying to create some space because they know Becher will draw attention. And we see this a few times with a lot of teams, in Vaughn and Sayak and Cordy Academy, Tori Nelson and Henry Sibley. When you have a player that's a step up over the rest of the team, not to say Mounds View can't play, but sometimes it takes some adjustments.
Absolutely. And hats off to the players and the coaching staff for being able to make that adjustment.
Well, Stillwater was in that position 2 years ago when Sara Scalia was becoming a household name.
With the amount of film
Liza, Karlen.
and the transition of particular players, you really have to be diverse. Your coaching style and your strategy.
Maneke looking for Becher, instead finds Whalen. Her three's off the mark. Lizzie calls with the O board, and that's going to be crucial. And you can't cough it up. Not against the Stillwater team that likes to push. In fact, I think one reason why they've dominated the Suburban East with Karlen in the mix, Stillwater can play the style that Willie Taylor implemented back at St. Paul Central. The rest of the conference not necessarily used to that.
Right.
Grace Cody for three. That's long. Long carom goes to Alexis Pratt, who played for Ashley Ansel back at North St. Paul. Three ball. Wagner can't hit from the corner. Karlen with the O board. And she lost the ball to Maneke. Ashley Ansel's really liked the development of Maneke over the last few games, and that's an incomplete pass. That's a tough turnover to record there.
Number 21, Amber
Here comes Amber Scalia,
Ponies.
the younger sister of Sara. And for those of you thinking Stillwater's going to be a flash in the pan or just a fad, we've got Amber for a few more years, and Gianna Carr will be eligible to play next year. Karlen tried to feed it to Pratt down low and calls. What is going on with Mounds View? They're passing us all over the place. Lindsey Becher settles things down, and we'll have a chance at three.
Great job there using her body, getting into the paint.
You missed out on some fun beforehand. Andrea Dubose and I and the rest of the coaches were trying to get some biographical notes out of Lindsey Becher. And here's what we discovered. She is a big fan of chemistry. That's her favorite class in school. A huge Drake fan, and will play Jackbox games with her friends, and she likes to make smoothies.
Okay.
Real ones, as she called it, which led us to wonder what fake smoothies are like. In fact, Lindsey was questioning her entire life at that point. But she does complete the three-point play. And Becher has scored all 5 points for the Mustangs.
That's a lot of whistles.
Are you sure we're not on a train? All aboard! I'm having way too much fun with this.
She's doing an excellent job of getting her hand in that passing lane.
Cody, pump fakes the three. Gets it to Scalia to avoid the 5-second call. Sister. Here's Allison Benning. Her 15-footer's off the mark, and Stillwater struggling from the floor in the early going. That's going to keep a team like Mounds View around. Although they're not doing much better from the floor.
That's exactly what I was just going to say there. Stillwater looks very comfortable in their offense. I think they're just rushing it a little bit here. And you can hear Willie saying, Coach Turner saying, slow it down, run your offense. Move the ball. And that's his key against his own defense is swinging the ball. Swing the defense. Get him out of position.
Three goes in and out for Sara Scalia. Rebound going to Lindsey Becher. Looking for Lizzie Calls on the outlet.
Call starting.
And that's a couple times down the floor we've seen them push the ball up and try to get that easy layup.
Like you said, they're not the fastest team, but they do get that. Sara Scalia tried to force an acrobatic layup to fall. Didn't work, but another try for the Ponies following the O-board.
Benning's down there working hard. That last rebound.
Well, she knows all about working hard. She is the ace on the Stillwater softball team that won a state championship last spring.
Oh, nice.
Number 12.
A team that was under 500. Nobody expected them to win it.
And she's only a sophomore, so we can add her to the roster of hanging around Stillwater for a little bit longer.
Right. As a basketball player, she's more of a role player. You get a lot of that at Stillwater. After the big three, Karlen, Scalia, and Pratt, there's a huge drop-off to folks like Cody and Wagner, but sometimes development takes a little time. Pratt weaving through traffic and foul before the shot.
Gonna get to the free throw line.
So side out coming for the Ponies. Madison Hansen in the game for Mounds View.
Her third.
Boy, they're calling that on the ground.
Rachel Clues in for Mounds View.
And we'll try again. As we noted, Stillwater on a 4-game win streak. They beat Forest Lake in an ugly game, 59-52. Amber Scalia fires for three, and the Ponies aren't getting
Great
their 3
box
points.
out there. Way to be there.
Pratt relentless on defense, and the Ponies can't finish. 10:22 left, and all of these missed bunnies, as Willie was telling me, these are the kinds of things that keep underdog teams around.
Yeah.
As he said, for Stillwater to be considered a serious contender, they've got to put schools like Mounds View or Cretin-Durham Hall on Tuesday. They got to put them away early.
Right.
And if you're Mounds View, hey, you're the underdog, and you know you've played a lot of teams close. 8 games decided by 5 or less.
And also when you're that high in the rankings or you're the favorite team, this is what Mounds View has been practicing for all week, is playing against Stillwater.
Benning stood around his short. Amber Scalia swoops in for another offensive rebound. So the Ponies controlling the glass, but they're not converting on these second chance tries. And Sara Scalia loses the grip.
And Mounds View showing a little defensive range here. They've switched up to a man. They're full court pressing. They know they're only down by 1, putting a little pressure on the Stillwater team.
.45. Timeout, Ashley Ansel.
Takes timeout.
8-7, a slow start. This happened, though, with Stillwater against Park of Cottage Grove, and even with Woodbury, it took them a little while to pull away. As I was saying, Stillwater, a lot of convincing wins. Forest Lake, Roseville, they started the season with a big win over St. Louis Park. But the fact that they were able to beat the contenders in the conference, Forest Lake and Roseville were ranked ahead of the Ponies at the time. That's how they moved up to 3rd. And for Mounds View, here are all the games that have proven to be nail-biters. Como Park was one. They came back from 17 down, almost got the win, but couldn't close out. Champlain Park, 5-point loss. They beat Park of Cottage Grove by 5. White Bear Lake by 5, another win. Henry Sibley, they lost that one, 50-47. Maranatha, as you'll recall, a close one. Sara Scalia, bullseye.
I was watching her warm up earlier, and she's practicing shooting from the volleyball line.
Like we said, anywhere on the floor, she can shoot it. Here's Lizzie Calls, used up the dribble, and it's a traveling violation, and maybe unfortunate because Pratt could have led a fast break.
Oh, yeah.
32, Chloe Whalen.
And to finish up on Mounds View, another nail-biting game, or a nail-biter, if you will, against Cretin-Durham Hall on Tuesday. They won that one 74-72. Becher had a triple-double, 26 points, 18 rebounds, 11 blocks.
Amazing.
It's 11-7. Scally with 6 points. Mary Foltz is in there now, number 25. Used up the dribble, finds Pratt. Runs into traffic down low, and they'll kick back out.
Thought she was going to do a big man move down there.
Don't tell Alexis Pratt that she's 5'3". Sara Scalia with her patented side fade.
That's one way to pull Mounds View out of that zone, shoot them out of the zone.
45 triples for Sara Scalia. And we still have more than half the season to go. She had 94 three-pointers last year.
Yeah, she's always high on the list, if not first.
In the state race. Mia Curtis is leading everybody. She has 46. I had a chance to see her last week. Mia's always fun to watch. Not many left-handed three-point shooters.
Our
Lindsey
little
Becher
James Harding,
scores.
right?
That is her favorite player. Becher scoring for Mounds View. We have a foul for the shot. Like we said, it's tough to stop Lindsey Becher. She's one of those players, you can try to contain her, but she'll still make a few plays. It's those support options.
I've seen her score on 3 players. I've seen her rebound over 3 players and go right back up.
And when the opposing coach, who's a Hall of Fame member, is saying, you're going to go D1, that is a huge endorsement.
And she moves really well for it to be their post player.
Well, there's another mover, Alexis Pratt, but she can't finish. And another rebound for Becher. Number 33 couldn't finish, but an offensive rebound. That's Rachel Clues, number 33 for the Mustangs. The question's going to be, can someone else from Mounds View take some pressure off Becher? Chloe Whalen.
If they just run their sets. They have really good sets, and if they run their sets, they'll be able to get some good shots off.
14-11. Mary Foltz draws a foul on Becher. That's just her first.
Fouls on 22, Lindsey Becher. 15 foul. 13, Allison Benning.
Benning going in for Cody.
And Becker's really showing her range, playing defense on Scalia.
Scalia, 4 three-pointers.
And Scalia's really showing her range, too.
A fantastic 4, and we still have a long way to go for Sara Scalia. Becher kicks back out. You hear Willie Taylor yelling ball pressure.
It's going to be nice for Minnesota fans to still see Sara at the U next year.
Becher lost it. Wagner stayed with her, and I'm not sure what happened, but again, this is something Lindsey, I'm sure, encounters on a regular basis when you go against these high-level teams. Everyone knows who to stop.
Yep, you're the target.
Pratt,
Killer
baseline.
first step.
Rebound goes into the hands of Benning. And Scalia, she's having no trouble knocking down her shots. Everybody else coming up cold. Becher from 16. That's short. That's probably not where you want her to shoot the ball. Benning. That rim is sealed shut.
Oh, goodness.
Benning has yet to make a field goal, and she's looking a little flustered.
It's not stopping her from shooting, though. She's still got a shooter. Will continue to shoot until...
Well, that's how you get out of a funk, right?
Yes, it will fall.
How many times have we mentioned it? As frustrating as it can be for fans when it's not going in, if you follow the Gophers or the Lynx and everyone's wondering, why do you keep shooting it? They're not going in. Well, if you don't shoot it, it can't go in.
Right. Looks like we got a... It's worried about a 5 call there.
Stillwater bringing the pressure. Becher finds Whalen. Maneke goes up and draws the foul.
That was a great job by Mounds View being patient on that press there and not panicking.
Foul's on 25, Mary Fultz.
The foul is on Fultz.
I think that last timeout, Coach Ansel drew up a little plan for them to just calm down and get through the press, especially Stillwater's doing like a jump trap. So.
Katie Maneke, 57% free throw shooter, averages 5.6 a game.
31, Claire Dalton in for Mounds View.
Maneke, a junior, 5'5".
32, Liza Karlen in for the
Karlen
Pregame.
going back in after an extended absence. We'll see if that changes things up. Maneke averaging close to 4 assists a game.
Doing what point guards do, right? I
Distribute.
love Liza's energy. She subs in, she runs in, comes right in and gets a rebound.
Sara Scalia missing on the runner. Liza Karlen will shoot 2. Now, if you've followed our Stillwater games on Valley Access or my YouTube page, you may know of this running gag Liza Karlen and I have. At the Wayzata game, Karlen's free throw numbers were about 23%. I brought that up in the broadcast because that's really weird for somebody who shoots threes as well as she does. Close to 47%, by the way.
Should we be quiet while she's shooting?
Well, no, here's the rest of the story. Well, she missed the first one. At the Tartan game, and the numbers are coming back up. You're not going to stay at 23% for long. She made one. Stillwater called a timeout. Karlen gave me a stare down. She took it as a challenge.
I don't want those problems, Mike.
In fact, that's why all the parents have said I should keep bringing that up because it's going to inspire her to knock down more free throws, make more shots. Her mother told me after the Tartan game, she's not only competitive on the court, she's competitive in the classroom. You know, likes to take the AP IB courses, and Emily was wondering, are you pushing yourself a little too hard? And Liza's, no, Liza wants to be the best at everything she does.
Yeah.
You will never have to worry about lack of ambition on her part. Lindsey Becher gets a friendly bounce. And I'll tell you what, she's keeping Mounds View around. Karlen with the long skip to Pratt. Nice feed to Wagner.
I can see Pratt test the waters there with that ball fake, and she knew they were going, so.
But they've got to get
smart
some
player.
players to knock down shots outside of Scalia, and an offensive foul called on Mounds View. It will go against Maneke. Last foul to give. I should say that actually puts Mounds View in the penalty. Team control foul, as you know, so no free throws awarded. But Sara Scalia, she's got 4 3-pointers. The rest of the team has 2 field goals.
That last offensive charge, I don't think Coach Ansel was too happy about that. She's still talking about it.
Willie Taylor's not going to be happy about that turnover.
No, this we know to be true. He still has his hands in his pocket, though, so.
And it's the unforced variety. Liza Karlen just threw it out of bounds. Miscommunication on a route. Stillwater pressing again. Mounds View unable to break it. They cough it up. I hope you're enjoying this game of hot potato.
Yeah, I think that everyone's just rushing it a little. They see those openings. They know their sets. They know where their players are going to be. They're just rushing it a little bit.
Well, Stillwater, if they were knocking down some shots down low, they could be up big. That seems to be one difference, and that's going to be a reach-in foul on Becher, her second.
And that's 2 on her. It'll be interesting to see if Ansel leaves her in, or if she brings her out to be safe because there's almost 5 minutes left on the clock. So if she comes out, that'll really open up the middle for Stillwater. We'll see how Liza counters.
Calls will go in for Becher.
Liza Karlen shoots 1-1.
Karlen at the line, missed her first 2. She's up to 48%. She did shoot in the mid-70s last year at St. Paul Central. And she has yet to convert.
I have a feeling I know what she's going to be doing Saturday morning.
She's going to be staring me down again. No, she'll be at the gym. Liza Karlen, also an accomplished swimmer.
I do remember that.
She idolizes Missy Franklin as much as she does Maya Moore. Calls, rebound, and the putback. And with Becher on the bench, sitting with 2 fouls, Lizzie Calls, as we noted, she's the X factor. If she gets going for the Mustangs, they'll have a good chance.
Whoa, that basket is still shut. Whoa, that was a lot of contact there.
We play on.
Right.
Karlen stuck at 2 points. Entry pass from Mounds View, intercepted by Karlen. Scalia sees a lane. Nothing going in. Traveling violation on the Mustangs. You can't fault them on a hustle play, though.
Right.
I was catching up with all the Stillwater parents beforehand, and Michelle Pratt, Alexis' mother, said silly things can happen in a basketball game. I think a lot of folks are expecting Stillwater to win comfortably, and there's still time for that, but Karlen, bullseye!
Well, like we said, this Mounds View team is not a rollover team. They have a great coaching staff, and they are definitely working within their means of what they have.
And there's another example of this strange dichotomy with Liza Karlen, a great three-point shooter, but she's 0 for 3 from the free throw line. Sara Scalia on the run, and
you know, I'm
who's
noticing.
it going to be?
I'm noticing the what would be the term I'm looking for? Stillwater does a great job of communicating with the refs in a non-verbal way, because that ref almost called off the hands of Mounds View and gave the ball back to Stillwater.
But have you ever seen a player that's a sharpshooter from three-point range having difficulty from the free throw line?
You know, I can see it happening. It's a different dynamic.
For someone like Lindsey Becher, she's a true 5, so you know, she's doing better at the line this year than last, traveling violation on calls. But you grew up watching the game. Those old school 5s traditionally struggled at the free throw line in the era of stretch 4s, perimeter shooting. Speaking of one, Pratt knocks one down. I guess the strategy for Stillwater is hit three-pointers, because going inside hasn't done much good.
Especially against that zone. You know, Mounds View, if they play man-to-man, it'll just run out of gas, because wouldn't be able to keep up with the pace of Stillwater.
Stillwater too athletic, you're right.
Yeah.
And Pratt not as accurate as Karlen or Scalia, but she can hit from 3 as well. Give the dime to Karlen and the bucket to Wagner. And Stillwater, for the first time all game, it seems, building some momentum here.
Pulling away, yeah.
Delaney Wagner, one of the role players we noted for Stillwater, averages 2.6. Doesn't go to the line a lot.
The Stillwater players down below do a great job of sealing their defender. And the guards and the forwards up top do a great job of feeding it into them.
That's the first free throw make for the Ponies.
And it looks like they've now extended this press, and it's not half court, it's full court now.
Stillwater looking to snipe the ball no matter where they're at. And again, not a set you see often in the Suburban East Conference. Calls, baseline. That's long. Cody with the board. And remember, the Mustangs don't have Lindsey Becher with 2 fouls. So Stillwater looking to cash in. And it looks like they're doing just that. Grace Cody with the layup. Largest lead of the game for the Ponies, 28-18.
There's that swarming Ponies defense there, that press.
What you like to call the mosquitoes.
Yes.
Even though we're in a horse race today, Ponies and Mustangs. Stillwater swings it around. Cody fires the 3, short. Pratt cannot save it. Goes into the bench. And it's a good thing there was nobody there.
23, Tori Shoot in for Stillwater.
As we noted, though, she has a rapport with Ashley Ansel, who was the coach at North St. Paul before moving to Mounds View. And I remember the first time I saw Alexis Pratt play at North St. Paul, and I was surprised.
Well,
and Michelle quipped because of how tiny she is.
Yeah.
No, because of her instincts.
Yeah. I had the privilege of watching her play in the St. Paul Conference. She was a 6th grader at Washington Tech Magnet School. And I was the assistant varsity coach there. And she actually sparked the conversation around allowing the younger girls to play up, which is one of the reasons why Shania is able to play on the Como Park team now.
And all those other 8th graders who are now freshmen.
Yes.
Amber Scalia scored on the fast break for the Ponies, and a foul was called on Pratt, her 2nd. So Chloe Whalen shooting 2. Chloe Whalen averaging 7.8, 66% free throw shooter.
31, Grace Cody in for Stillwater.
So Pratt will take a breather with 1:02 left. You don't need her to pick up that 3rd foul, especially with Stillwater pulling ahead here.
Right.
It was a 1-point lead. Now it's 12. And Whalen blank from the line. Can Stillwater pad their advantage? Well, Sara Scalia will have a chance to do it, and she is one of Stillwater's sharpshooters from the charity stripe. Sara Scalia, what more can you say about her?
I know. She's a great player.
We've covered her for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I know one thing you enjoy about your daughter at Maranatha, you don't have to worry about going against her in the conference.
Right.
You can cheer for Sara now in the sections.
Right. Or we should say Sara doesn't have to worry about Demaya playing defense on her.
How did she take getting crossed up by Frankie Vassalero last week?
Frankie crossed everyone last week.
She does that to everybody, doesn't she? How about Frankie?
Yeah. I think I would put her right up with Alexis Pratt on development
sophomore
in the
class?
offseason. Yeah. They've really set themselves apart from other players.
That sophomore class, you've got Vassalero, Pratt. I saw Avante Saye earlier.
There's some really good basketball here in Minnesota right now.
Next year's class, we got Paige Beckers, of course, Lindsey Becher.
She just put Paige on a list by herself. Like,
She already is,
she just has the gold star.
but she's not the only one.
Absolutely.
Claire Dalton shooting 1-1 with the Mustangs in the bonus, and this is what you need. As many points as you can get while you wait for Becher to return.
You watch that free throw sequence and you see the Stillwater players, they're in position to rebound. Just those little things.
Scalia off the screen. Pure!
If you're playing this team, you got to know that's her sweet spot.
The Sarasaurus Rex is breaking loose in San Diego. Ted will understand the reference.
Whose whistle was that?
Chloe Whalen, that's the risk you run when you trap yourself in the corner like that. She couldn't break her way out.
What was his call?
Ted LaRue is a big Jurassic Park fan, so he and I came up with a few references for Sara Scalia when she has a big game,
Okay.
like she's having right now.
Sarah's
Here she
taken
comes.
the last 3 shots. She's on a roll.
Still time. Widener, good if it goes. Yes!
Oh, yay.
Wagner, 4-3.
Stillwater just a few minutes ago held a 1-point lead. They've ballooned that margin to 17 thanks to their 3-point sharpshooting. 37-20 the final, and after Stillwater couldn't buy a bucket for the first 10 minutes, they looked pretty fluid in the last 8.
Yeah.
No further words necessary, apparently.
We're talking about Stillwater. What do we say?
Well, we say their 3-point shooting lights out. We'll talk more about that when we return. You're watching high school girls basketball. Stillwater leads Mounds View 37-20. If you'd like to sponsor a TSB television broadcast, Patreon is the place. Sponsorships start at just $1 a month. Visit patreon.com/TSB television and make a pledge for premier Twin Cities sports coverage. And we're back at the stable in Oak Park Heights. Mike Peden and LaToya Turk with you. Stillwater leading Mounds View 37-20. Stillwater going on a huge run, 19-3 unofficially. And all of that was set up by Stillwater's perimeter shooting in the last few minutes of the first half.
Absolutely. And also having Becher on the bench, too. Once she came out of the game, Stillwater just went on a roll. I think they felt a little more confident not having her on the floor. But I look to see Mounds View bring her back in early.
That's a good point. Mounds View's offensive efficiency plummeted with Becher on the bench. She has 9 points right now to lead the Mustangs. Nobody else has more than 4. Lizzie Calls has 4 for Stillwater. Sara Scalia, she struggled overall, but 5 3-pointers, 16 points. Delaney Wagner has 6, including a buzzer beater. Liza, Karlen, and Grace Cody have 5.
The depth of those shots from Sara Scalia probably should have been counted as 4 points.
God help us if there is a 4-point line.
I can name 2 teams that would be using that 4-point line. Stillwater Ponies and Como Park Cougars. We're going to get started here with Stillwater having possession of the ball. We have our original starters in, and Mounds View is still in the zone.
Wagner start.
And Wagner starts the second half off with a short baseline bucket.
Delaney Wagner up to 8 with that last bucket. Thanks for chipping in there, pinch hitting, LaToya.
Do my best.
Well, we all know you want to take a play-by-play job at some point.
I'll never be as good as you, Mike.
I don't think I'll ever be as good as me.
And there we go.
That is a 3-pointer Mounds View sorely needed. Chloe Whalen up to 5. And we have, I don't know what happened there, some sort of violation or miscue on the Ponies and a free ball for the Mustangs.
I didn't see the call. I didn't see the signal. Everyone's looking a little confused.
I'm wondering if there was a carrying violation.
But he would have signaled the carry signal.
Or maybe the inbound, maybe they didn't get that in properly. I didn't see it. But Mounds View unable to capitalize. Liza Karlen with the rebound. She feeds Pratt. Swish.
And I was just talking to Pratt's mom, and we were saying that second half fares a little better for Stillwater. Maybe it's this bucket that's a little more open for them.
That is a good point. Against Woodbury, they pulled away in the second half of that one. Against Eastridge, they just destroyed them from the onset. And Parker Cottage Grove, they struggled in the first half before rallying in the second. But as Willie Taylor and I were discussing earlier, that's something Stillwater will have to clean up. Because from here on out, Forest Lake and Roseville, the rematches should be a lot of fun. Eden Prairie, they're a much better team than a year ago, but you have to think the toughest competition might not come until sections.
Right.
Pratt with the steal. Goodbye.
And that's one thing that the guards at Mounds View are going to learn very quickly is they are going to have to take care of the ball as long as Alexis Pratt is in the game.
And it looks like Stillwater is in full control now. They're up by 20. A 6-0 run to start the second half. And if you go back to the first half, 25-6 unofficially.
That's a big scoring gap there.
But it highlights the distribution of talent at Stillwater compared to Mounds View. For the Mustangs, everything goes through Lindsey Becher.
Right.
If she is not doing well, or if the other players can't get involved, they have a hard time. They almost got that upset over Como Park in part because Lizzie Calls had a big game, and they beat Cretin-Durham Hall for that same reason.
But let's not make any mistake. Mounds View, they play very confident. And it looks like Stillwater wasn't happy with that play setup.
I knew what you were trying to say, but Willie Taylor furious with the formation on the inbound play, and Stillwater had all 5 timeouts.
Yeah.
You never see him get this mad at a game.
Well, I think he spends a lot of time in practice going over execution, and so that's what he wants. And that's what will get his team to state, being able to execute, because they have the manpower, woman power.
We knew what you meant. Well, Willie Taylor's a coach, all right.
24/7.
Because most head coaches, they'll find something to be unhappy about. But they're always trying to patch something or spruce something up. Willie Taylor, though, he and I have many conversations, soft and pleasant ones. Sara Scalia with the steal, and Willie Taylor will like that.
Sara gets the crowd into it.
And this is what Stillwater has done to so many teams in the Suburban East. You can hang with them for a half, but it's like watching UConn.
And with the Suburban East, it's more of a set, slow down offense, and Willie's really pushing it.
And we saw traces of that last year. That's a foul on Karlen, her third. We saw traces of that last year. Stillwater scoring 67 points a game.
Yeah. And if you look at some of the Suburban East scores, they're in the mid-40s to be for some of the higher scoring games. When you have 3 players on your team that can score 20 points, like Stillwater, you're going to clearly go over that 40-point mark.
And we haven't even seen Liza Karlen break out the way Pratt and Scalia have yet.
Right.
But Roseville, for example, they're a team that likes to grind it out. Stillwater put 78 on them. That's going to make a school like Roseville uncomfortable. Sara Scalia! Sensational! Six triples. That matches her season high. Mounds View with the answer. It's Madison Hansen. And Mounds View, they just got to find a way to get a run of any kind going. Pratt feeds Karlen. Nifty layup. Karlen does have college aspirations for basketball, but not too many will point to Missy Franklin as a role model. Franklin, of course, multiple gold medals at the 2012 Olympics.
And the good thing about Karlen is that she has so many avenues. She's an all-around student athlete.
And ever since she came to Stillwater, she's a whole lot happier.
Oh, yeah.
Becher can't get the fadeaway on Karlen. Hansen with the rebound, no putback. Sara Scalia chases it down. Fires the skip to Karlen. Here she comes, completes the drive.
Looking like the true stretch four that she is.
And Stillwater turning this into a runaway. This was the score, the result we were expecting.
Way to get your arms up, Liza. That saved you there because your defense had rotated over there. Good job.
And to go back to your point about Stillwater's depth and their athleticism, their agility, that's why so many teams have a hard time keeping up with them, especially in the second half. You have to run with them more often than you would against East Ridge or Roseville or Woodbury. And by the time you get to this point in the game, you're gassed.
And you have more players that you have to defend offensively. It's not just one dominant player.
Big difference compared to a year ago. I remember you and I came here for some games. Minneapolis South was one of them. The Tigers got the win there. Again, Stillwater was a good team. They're a superb team now.
And even though Liza got a turnover there, her height allows her to just see over the smaller defenders.
And that's something Stillwater didn't have, a true post presence. You know, Rachel Hull was the closest thing to it last year, as Pratt fires the three, and that's long. But Hull is more of a volleyball athlete that crossed over into basketball.
I remember.
I would hope so. You were there. Grace Cody, another three. That doesn't drop. Becker with the board. Menike.
She's looking for Becker coming down the middle.
And Becker streaks her way to the lane. Lindsey Becher with 11. Ashley Ansel calls another timeout.
And I'm sure she's going to remind her team to go back to what works for them. You cannot have your post player go up and down the floor that many times and not touch the ball.
Lindsey Becher, 11 points or more every game this season. Becker will certainly be fun to watch next year. And you were talking about Liza Karlen. All the stats she accumulated in those first 2 years with Central, but what she didn't have was cohesion.
Mm-hmm.
Different story this year. Some of her favorites, Larry Bird. I think everyone knows who he is if you're a basketball fan. And Sushi.
Oh, okay.
In fact, she's one of several sushi lovers on the Stillwater team. Allison Benning and Sara Scalia, big sushi lovers. I wonder if they hit up 7 in downtown Minneapolis.
That might be a little far for them to go.
Well, hey, Sara Scalia's going to the Gophers. Can't be that far.
Yeah.
And the Scalias are season ticket holders for the Lynx.
There'll be some nice sushi spots on the campus for her to check out.
And unsurprisingly, one of Sara Scalia's favorites, her favorite athlete, Maya Moore.
Oh, yeah. She's been a fan for a long time. I think I saw some pictures of her when she was younger.
Yes,
on the court
her dad
with them.
shared them.
Mm-hmm.
And another time, this highlights the basketball genes in the family as Pratt fires the three and is long. Peter found an old Harvey Catchings Milwaukee Bucks jersey and had Sara Scalia sported, and it got the attention of Harvey Catchings' daughter.
I remember that too.
In case you're wondering who that is, that would be Tamika Catchings, the WNBA legend.
Tamika Catchings. Played under Pat Summitt.
At Tennessee, won a title in 2012 with the Fever.
I knew you'd know the stats. I knew it.
Well, I knew because I was there. I got to see her win it. It came against Minnesota, the year Indiana played the upset card and surprised everybody.
23,
Tori Shue called for the foul. Lizzie calls at the line. As we said, Lizzie calls feast or famine, 2 20-point games and 4 with 4 or less. She's averaging 9.6 on the season.
So a lot of times when you have a team that's pushing a 20-point lead, you start to get some of your bench players in. But against its Mounds View team, that's just not something that you can take a risk of putting in players who can't keep the tempo as is with Stillwater right now.
I was looking at some of the other bios of the Stillwater athletes as call splits at the line. The other folks who list Maya Moore as their favorites are a couple of role players, Alexis Kellogg and Abby Scheel. Although Sara Scalia, as Willie Taylor calls a timeout.
Only after he advises the ref of the hip check.
Well, even last year, Sara Scalia incorporated some elements from Trae Young. And I don't know of too many players who can shoot threes as far as she can.
They sure will try, though. So we've seen a couple times turnovers from the Ponies as they get trapped in these baseline corners here, where Mounds View's trapping them. So I'm sure Willie advised them to stay out of the corner.
If you're curious, Alexis Pratt, some of her favorites. Kevin Durant, her favorite sport is track and field. Maybe outside of basketball. And we know she likes to eat. Her food of choice is chicken wings.
We also know she holds a few records in Minnesota track. She was on a state 4x100 team.
Well, she's been a speedster ever since she started. Liza Karlen, 3 is off the mark. Rebound Becher. Pratt swooping in. And they're going to have a jump, Mounds View with the arrow.
And as soon as that rebound went up, Pratt was right there, and she looked like, I'm going to get this ball.
5'3", going up against 6'1", 6'2". Conversely, while we're talking about Becher, she's a nut when it comes to healthy foods. Her pregame meals involve apples, pistachios, foods you would find on the pyramid.
And you know, wow.
Look out. Pure! I'm Sara Scalia, and I get triples.
When athletes can add the nutritional piece to their repertoire, it really sets them apart from other athletes. But that's one of the hardest things to get them to get on board with is eating right, eating healthy.
Exactly. As we know in college, the trainers almost micromanage what you eat.
Correct.
And it becomes more of an imperative when you go off and play professionally because you don't have anyone watching over your shoulder.
Right.
And how many times does that play a role? You're just staying fit. You hear about all the diets WNBA players have.
Right.
And it's pretty strict if you want to make it work.
Right.
Scalia again. Almost went in, but Liza Karlen is there for the cleanup.
There.
By the way, Scalia has a season high 7 3-pointers. I believe her career high is 9. She may not need that tonight, but this is one of those quintessential examples of how Stillwater's fortunes go in their favor when those threes are falling.
Absolutely. And they have so many three-point shooter threats that pick your poison.
Karlen extended that dynamic, didn't she?
Yeah.
We knew Sara can connect from long range, but having Liza Karlen and now Amber Scalia wants in on the fun.
Right, both of the Scalia sisters, Karlen, Pratt will pull it.
Are you sure Ponies is an accurate nickname? Traveling violation. I'm not sure they should be called the Stillwater Ponies. I think the Stillwater Snipers would be more fitting. I want them on my trap shooting team.
Be careful, Mike. They'll come out with some handshake or something for you doing warm-ups.
Liza Karlen, bullseye.
And they're letting it rain tonight.
It took a while to get going, but the second half, as you noted, Stillwater's better half. And they've been doing this to just about everybody in the Suburban East.
Yeah, and they have fairly good rotation on their defense as well, which is making Mounds View rush those shots that they have just a little bit of time open on.
The one exception was Forest Lake when everybody struggled. That's not the case tonight. Pratt up, no good. We're headed towards running time. Liza Karlen scores. Well, Liza Karlen's free throws may be suspect tonight, but everything else is working. And the Ponies are still getting after it, even though they've got the win locked up.
And that's one of the harder things when you have a team that has the ability to pull the lead. Do you pull them back, or do you let them continue to play? Because after this game might come a harder opponent, or if their conference, if they can just roll over in the conference, like in the St. Paul Conference, they still have to get ready for sections.
Well, even though they'll be favored in their next conference matchup as Karlen scores again down low.
She's down there doing Mikan drills, left side, right side.
We're in the mercy rule threshold now, so we'll be out of here in about 9 minutes. That means more time to go home and hit up those sponsors. And speaking of, if you'd like to help out, you can do so. Patreon.com/TSB Television or PayPal.me/TSB Television for those who prefer one-time contributions. Several perks on hand as well.
So players, if you're watching film and you're watching this game, and your parents or your grandparents, your aunts or uncles, if they own a business and you'd like to see them have an ad on the
like Andrea
on the YouTube channel, on Mike's YouTube channel, send them to the link.
Andrea Dubose runs a training business when she's not coaching hoops. I'm sure the two of you will still have some fun stories to share. Sara Scalia, she's not done.
Sara says, who's going to stop me?
I'm certainly not. Maybe Maya Moore. A season-high 8 3-pointers. She's up to 50 on the season, and we're in running time now, so 8 minutes and 40 seconds away. This was maybe the results we were expecting. It took a little while to get going, but once Stillwater woke up from their slumber when it was a 1-point game, the floodgates open.
And that'll be one thing that I think we'll see Coach Willie clean up, is getting them going a little sooner versus waiting. Then you have to play harder that second half. You're already a little tired.
Are you sure? Sara Scalia looks like she could go for another half. Maybe another overtime. Becher, no good. Stillwater will get a test. The opponents next week, they're not the highest of caliber, but they play Hudson on Monday as Pratt scores. And then on Tuesday, it's a back-to-back. They go on the road to play Hudson. Tuesday, they come back here to play Cretin-Durham Hall. And Cretin, similar to Mounds View as far as the talent they have.
Right.
But Willie was looking to that game as another barometer for the Ponies.
Right, because they have Franny in the middle, and then they have Sid Jackson at that point guard position. And Sid has speed that's pretty relative to Alexis. So, and they've played against each other a few times here and there. So it'll be nice to see them match up against each other. And
for Willie, he's already thinking big picture because everybody is aware that Stillwater likely going to be a competitor in the sections as Lindsey Becher scores. They're a heavy favorite to get out of Section 4. And so everything for them is about preparing for the postseason in sections because you never know. We saw Tartan play them close. Alexis Pratt with a little step-back flare.
A little Kevin Durant move there.
A little James Harden, maybe?
I like that step back. I've seen her do it a couple of times.
Lindsey Becher pulls up from 14, gets the friendly bounce.
Nice. They've pushed Lindsey outside of on the box there. She's having to take jump shots now.
Willie Taylor will call a timeout, so that will stop the clock with 6:36 left.
That step back for Alexis allows her to get a little distance in between players who might be a little taller than her when they get their hand up.
So it's really interesting to think about because last year we were all wondering what seed Stillwater would get and would they have a chance to make a run. This year it's all about how far they can go.
And that's going to be up to them. That's totally going to be up to them. They have the team this year. They have a phenomenal coach, and so they just have to show up. I look to see them go far.
Willie Taylor has said this year's team is drawing several comparisons to his St. Paul Central squads from yesteryear, including the 2 that won state championships in Class 4A. Now, he finds that a little irritating because it's hard to compare in eras and things like that. But he said the difference between those teams and where Stillwater is, and I'd say, despite the slow start, they're doing excellent at putting teams away, but that's what St. Paul Central did. They came out early, they came out flying, and everybody in the conference couldn't keep up. Central would have the win locked up. He's trying to bring that same intensity to Stillwater, and when you don't have that history that St. Paul Central did, and a lot of role players, and as we said, the big drop-off from the big 3 to the rest of the team, it takes a little while for that to build up, because the Hopkins game, for example, this group was not used to playing in front of big crowds and a big-time environment. By the time the season's over, they played Hopkins, they played Wayzata. They'll get a late-season test with Eden Prairie. They may not be the most fearsome team in 4A, but they're in the top 10. Ellen Weesey doing a good job rebuilding that program. What kind of impact that could have for the Ponies, we shall see.
You talk about the comparison with the St. Paul Central team and this team that he has now. I've had several conversations with the caliber of athletes, in the late 90s to what we have now. It is very different. And we didn't have what they have now as far as training and all of the film and the nutritional aspect of it. So they really have an opportunity to be dynamic and great athletes.
And more importantly, they've got the building blocks for an extended run when Gianna Cara comes back.
Oh, yeah.
Or I should say, becomes eligible for varsity.
Right.
You mentioned the athletes of the past, and you and I haven't had a chance to connect since then in a game. Tori Shute hits the three-pointer. But I wanted to get your thoughts as we're in stat padding time on the passing of Ben Coleman. He died last weekend, a legend at Minneapolis North and in college at Minnesota and Maryland.
It's going to be a big loss to the basketball sporting community.
23, Tori Shute. That's her second. 32, Chloe Wayland.
A lot of folks who knew him, past to present. Larry McKenzie came on to WCCO recently and shared a few stories about what he meant to the community. And he and I had many mutual friends, and they all talked about his gentleness. In fact, Gentle Ben was his nickname in college, and he stayed that way throughout the rest of his career. He and I had a chance to call a few games together, and he really enjoyed being on the mic, and we didn't get a chance. As Mary Foltz hits the three, we didn't get a chance to do any games recently, but every time I was at North and he was there, we'd always greet each other, say hello, and it is a huge loss for basketball, and I'm glad I got to know him as briefly as I did. I still have a few stories as Leah Band scores.
It sounds like he definitely left his mark on the community, so...
Graduated from North in '79, played 2 seasons, was a teammate of Trent Tucker and Jim Peterson, I believe, at Minnesota, and 2-time All-ACC at Maryland. But as Nia Hawley, a friend of mine at Michigan State, told me, you can meet a lot of people through this thing called basketball, and whenever one of them passes on, it's always a tough moment.
Right. It's a very tight community, the basketball community, especially in the city. It's a very tight community.
So Lindsey Becher to the line, and Mounds View, they've got a ways to go. They're in Section 5 and will probably be an underdog to the likes of Roseville. Park Center having a fantastic season. Adalia McKenzie.
Yes.
What a performance. What an evolution in her game.
Yes. I watched her over the summer, and her advancement, so we can add her to the list of girls who have
in that
really
sophomore
advanced.
class.
Yeah. And then Tanae Griffin, still being out there, a great addition. And then
Right.
Frost. They have a really nice program right now.
I know you and I were talking as if they might head elsewhere, but they decided to stick together, and it paid off.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sometimes you have to make a move, as Liza Karlen did. Other times,
And
there's
Demaya.
a benefit to writing it out.
Yeah. Yep, you're absolutely right. Sometimes you do have to make a move.
It all depends on the circumstances.
Yep.
But Park Center, they've got a great thing going, and now we've got the D players in. That's number 15 who scored, Elizabeth Holder.
And Mackenzie reminds me of the players of the 90s. She works hard. She's training a lot. She asks questions. She wants to elevate her game. She steps on the floor as a true athlete. I love watching her play.
I'm hoping to make my way up to Park Center one of these nights. But Section 5, it's always a tough one. I know you won't have a part in it this year, but Roseville's still doing well. Park Center, Centennial, if they get Sarah Stapleton back, they could be a force.
Yeah.
There's never one favorite.
No moment there.
No. Compared to Section 4, we're already thinking about Stillwater
Right.
and how far they could go to state. But, they remember that Tartan team, TK Mason's back, so there
and they have Aurora over there.
Right.
Phenomenal speed and jumping ability.
And
Cummings.
And this is why Willie Taylor said it's important to put those lower teams away, because folks like Cretin or Tartan, if you don't, they might sneak up and bite you.
Yeah.
So we're at the midway point of the season, and we're seeing results out of Stillwater that we usually see covering Hopkins or Wayzata.
Yeah.
That's not something we're used to.
But
Three-pointer
I
goes
think
in.
we should get used to that when we cover Stillwater.
Faith Iwerks, what?
Of having them have a point spread like a Hopkins or a Wayzata team.
Faith Iwerks scoring the three-pointer. Well, this is a far cry from the last couple of years where they were a struggling team. And they'll continue their high-scoring ways as time winds down. 83-43 will be the final. Sara Scalia, 8 3-pointers, 27 points. Liza Karlen with 18. A methodical win for the Ponies, but that three-point shooting was the difference.
Absolutely. When you're coming to play Stillwater, you better be ready to defend the three. And I think at the beginning of the game, they had their post player out on Scalia, and it slowed her down just a little. But once she came out of the game, Stillwater just ran off with it.
They did run off with it, and it's the Ponies who win this horse race. We'll try to get a word with Sara Scalia and Liza Karlen from the stable in Oak Park Heights. This is high school girls basketball. 83-43 the final.
It's fun listening to you, too.
Joining me are Sara Scalia and Liza Karlen, the two AAU teammates. Sara, 8 3-pointers tonight. You really picked things up in the second half. What went into your perimeter shot tonight?
We started out slow in the first half, and I just know I had to start to get our team going and stuff. So when my teammate saw me open at the three and got it to me, I just shot it, and yeah.
How big was that run to end the first half? I believe it was 19-3. You were up by just one, and then a few threes go down. All of a sudden, you win by 40.
Yeah, like I said, we just started out really slow in the first half. We knew we had to pick it up because we weren't playing to our best ability and stuff, and so, yeah.
What would you make the difference between last year and this year? Because in the Suburban East a year ago, you were competitive, but there were a lot of close calls. So far, you've been running over a lot of teams, White Bear Lake, East Ridge, and now Mounds View.
I just think our team is really coming together and stuff and working together, because now we got Liza, obviously, and so we're starting to get her in more and get her the ball down low, and yeah.
So it's all Liza. You had nothing to do with it?
No.
Well, Liza, your free throws didn't go in, but everything else did. You finished with 18 points, but you were hitting them from outside, you were hitting them from down low. Just how comfortable were you on the floor tonight?
I'm going to be honest, first half was definitely slow for me. Obviously, when I get taken out because of fouls, that's definitely something that's really frustrating and kind of takes me out of my groove, I guess you could say. But like second half, went in with a different mentality. Shots started to drop, and regardless of how the first half went, you just have to kind of clear it and move forward. So glad that we could finally get a hold of things second half.
You took the holidays off, had a couple of weeks to recharge, go over some things. How do you think that is reflected in your performance in these last few games?
Well, honestly, I thought the break was good for us just because we definitely started off the season with a lot of hard teams, Hopkins, Wayzata, Roseville, Forest Lake, all top 10 teams. So having a break and kind of regrouping was definitely nice to get our heads together for 2019. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going.
And another reason for your runaway win, your ability to neutralize Lindsey Becher, 15 points. But you made things tough for her as far as getting her touches and staying on her. So how were you able to keep her from breaking out on you?
Well, the thing again is just stay straight up. Obviously, I got taken out in the first half because of fouls, and that's definitely hard as a post player just because the calls are really close and it could go either way. So I think the thing with guarding bigs is just to stay straight up and have a body on them just to deflect the shot as much as you can.
Now, you were on hand for some runaway wins last year in the St. Paul City Conference. Is there a little something extra doing this in the Suburban East?
Yeah, there definitely is something different about playing the Suburban East Conference just because the teams that you play are definitely a lot more aggressive. There's obviously there's a couple other top 10 teams in our conference right now, so that changes things a lot. And playing with a different team definitely changes things as well. So even though we won by a comfortable amount tonight, I think that the competition is still a lot better, so it's good.
So it does feel a little sweeter.
Yeah, I think it does.
Well, Sara, unofficially, you're the first athlete to reach 53 pointers this season with your 8 tonight. Will we see 100 out of you?
I don't know. I'm just taking it one game at a time and just focusing on winning and help my team win.
All right, you want to say hi to anybody?
Hi to my family. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate that.
Gotta say hi to the family in Michigan. So, hey guys.
That wraps it up here from the stable in Oak Park Heights. Congrats, Sara and Liza, and we'll see if you can do this on Monday with Hudson.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching here at the stable. This is Mike Peden for our entire crew. We'll see you next time.